So, welcome to our session today. This is we're going to have a bit of a double act. So, I'm going to introduce a session first thing from Essity, and Essity are going to talk to you about what they're doing in terms of transforming their business using transportation. And then after that, we're then going to have a bit more of a conversation about networks and pre-connected networks, which we'll touch on a bit with Essity, but we're going to take that to the next stage. And I'm going to ask Sherelle from One Network to come and present that. I don't know how many people have heard of Essity. Probably not that many. It's not a very well-known brand. But anyone that's in paper will probably have heard of SCA or SCA packaging, right? And actually, Essity is out of SCA. So, but they've moved on to being a health and hygiene company, and are expanding very rapidly, a lot through acquisition. So at this point, Essity is a 13 billion euro company, and continuing to grow. And Sergio is going to explain a little bit about what Essity is doing and where they're coming from. But you know, as we're all growing older and our life expectancy is extending, and we're becoming more and more interested in hygiene, this is really fueling the growth that companies like Essity are benefiting from. So Sergio's going to come up. Sergio, he leads the operations for Essity in Europe for transportation or logistics. He's based in Spain. His background is industrial engineering and logistics. And he's been 20 years running supply chains and working in the whole process of transportation and logistics. And he's having to cope with all of this mergers and acquisitions that's going on inside his company, but still trying to then make sure that his customers are getting products delivered on time and in full. So, Sergio, please come up and please talk to us a bit about your project and how you're improving your supply chain.
We'll try.
Yes, that's good. Thanks.
Can you hear me well? Yeah? Again, thank you very much for being here. We'll try to share in the next coming minutes a bit our journey, and thank you for having us here. For us, it's always nice to share some of the goods, some of the not so goods, and some of the learnings. So it will be some minutes, some slides, and a short video, okay? Again, you were asking if you know the company. I know it's a bit tricky when it's difficult to to have new talent whenever we speak about Essity. It's not so well known. But then when I start talking about the brands, and especially if you went to the toilet, potentially you're already one of our final, consumers. The Torque hand wipe, it's ours. So if you don't mind, I think the best thing for me to start is to show you a video. It's only 1 minute, but I guess after you watch the video, you will understand a little bit more the challenges that we have as a company. If that's okay for you. So this is not the video, of course, it's the next one, but Again, I'm not sure if you recognize some of the brands, when you feel a little bit more acquainted with the type of products. This presentation would have been completely different 10 years ago, I can tell you. We were very much a traditional Swedish paper company. But when the new transition into these new ways of working came, we realized that our supply chain needs to be changed, improved, obviously, in order to start competing with this kind of, in this type of market. So we started. And then, of course, transportation was part of that. But just to let you know, when you take a look on the type of articles that we're moving, me as transportation in any given day, I need to move a mother reel, which is 2 tons, a full truck of mother reels, which is 2 tons. And sometimes as well, the same day, I need to deliver to a specific patient on a hospital on a 3rd floor on a Saturday, a small package, with some plasters and potentially a Band-Aid or something, to help him to get a better night that night, in terms of incontinence. So as you can imagine, our supply chain and our channels are very different, and that's one of the challenges that we have as a company. And that's why within the company, some years ago, we started to think how can we evolve our supply chain. And basically, this is, as you can imagine, this is not only regarding transportation, actually was everything related to the supply chain. And basically 3 main pillars, we could say, that we're taking in consideration in order to arrive to this one. First one was harmonization of processes. Simon was just saying, we were been growing through acquisitions, and the good benefits of having new companies within our scope. It's super good. You learn a lot, but as well, the challenges, right? Different ERPs, different ways of working, actually different cultures behind those things. And this was one of the main things that we wanted to attack. How can we be able to have a better harmonized process? So we said, okay, let's start from that. Let's work on this. How can we manage this? This was by the usage of course, of new technology. And we got in this digital, this digitalization coming this wave. And then we said, okay, let's harmonize using new digital tools. But at the same time, we realized that it was very difficult to do this in a decentralized way. I'm not sure if it's your case or not, but on the old days, the transportation planning was done in every single factory that I have around Europe. A small department, 2-3 guys sitting with some post-its, Excel, sometimes if you were lucky, and they were running the operations okay. But as you can imagine, it's very difficult to scale, right? So we were trying to targeting a different organization, let's centralize, not fully centralized, it's true, because you still need some of the knowledge on the locals with the regions. They still need you still need to talk to the carriers, to the hauliers in the day-to-day, but we try to attract a lot of these operations centrally. That's one thing. We will use new tools, in this case, the transportation management system. And the third thing, as we said, let's harmonize process. And that was this kind of journey that we started the whole supply chain. But if we talk about transportation in a bit more concise way, one of the things that we managed, we started the project in 2018, by the way. And after 18 months, we managed to put all Europe working within the same system, okay? 6 months later, during COVID, we managed to do North America as well. So actually, in theory, I would be able to plan North America from Barcelona and vice versa, which I think was a big achievement when we are considering that we made this in a couple of years. And I have to say that project was very good on time and on money. And it was not my project, by the way, but I have to say that it really went pretty okay. And 2 other things, whenever we talk about benefits, the second that I could mention is to support the sourcing strategy. What do I mean? If you could picture in your head one of my trucks, so full truck loads, full of toilet paper, what I'm really moving, it's air, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's full of air, water, fiber, but the percentage of the cost that I have on toilet paper, it's super high, right? So I need to be super smart to be able to balance costs, but service, because my type of customers that I have, they are very much demanding. So I need to have the perfect balance between cost and service. How can you do that, right? One of the ways of doing this was to have a very good partnership, right, with our carriers. How can you manage that? The way of doing this was to have reliable information and data every single day. So if we see at the beginning of the year telling you carrier A from London to Paris, I will give you 20 trucks per week. He wants 20 trucks per week, not 5 and not 35 the day after tomorrow. And that was very difficult to control when we were doing this with the Post-its, paper and pencil. That was very complex, but now we manage. So our sourcing strategy was very much strengthened by these kind of applications. That was number 2, and number 3 as well is the scalability. In the past, in order to put even more volumes within our supply chain, it was tricky. Now, I will not say it's a blink of an eye and it's from one day to another, but it's true that for us it's very easy to gain more volume because we have the same process, we have one system and one way of working. And as you will see later on, one of the main benefits, we managed to double the number of transactions within our team after a couple of years of operations, which we believe it's a very good achievement of using these kind of technologies. Yeah? Just to tell you a couple of words about this Center of Excellence. We have it in Barcelona, right? A Center of Excellence where we have, you can see the different teams that we are making part of this Center of Excellence for planning and logistics. Transportation, of course, is there. Sometimes they ask me, why did you choose Barcelona? Potentially the first thing that it could come to your mind is because weather and food, which, I mean, it helps, but it was not, of course, the only criteria of that. There was a list of criteria which were studied on those days, but in a nutshell, I would say it was the possibility to find the right capabilities in terms of supply chain. And of course, it was true that we had already an office in Barcelona, etc. So, but if you ask me, that would be one of the reasons why we moved into this direction. Again, the journey started, as I said, late 2018, and we are on putting the last bricks, we could say, of this organization as we speak, especially for the part of supply planning. Okay. One of the things that as well we did whenever we set up this kind of new ways of working was to integrate certain capabilities within the team which make us to be a bit more autonomous. What I want to say is the following. We used to have in the past business people and IT people. But currently in my team I have a business people, but I have as well some IT experts belonging to my team to give more autonomy. Otherwise in the past I needed to open a ticket, and I am very much autonomous with the ways of working, having this balance between having people from the operations but also some certain skills within our team. And that's part of the philosophy of this type of centers of excellence. A couple of slides more about the evolution. As I was saying, our target during this 2025 will be to reach 1 million deliveries through the system. Just to let you know, we are about 89% of all the deliveries that they reach our system are touchless. Okay? So from the reception to the moment that they are accepted to the carriers, close to 90% depending on the market, it's touchless, which is, of course, it's a big thing for us. Second thing that we would like to mention is about the integration with our partners. We manage as well to build an extra link towards them. EDI in North America, it's what we use. And in this case, together with Yonder as well, we developed this collaboration with our carriers in order to send and receive information. Which kind of information? Basically the status messages. So now, I know now when they left the premises, where are they, if they will be late, and what we call information of delivery or IOD. Right? So that's something that we are growing. How are we using this? I mean, our customer service and sales guys, of course, are happy because of having this new now. In the past, they used to sit with the customers, and whenever they were talking about service level, there was also a discrepancy. What we believed that was our service level, because normally we were measuring at the moment they were leaving our gates, and the customer perception. Now with this information, we're in a different dimension. It's true, it's a challenge. The information coming from the carriers, we need to be careful, but it's something that we are giving a very good step forward regarding this one. In terms of what else, reinforcing the team, I was just saying, I'm not sure what's your experience, but the fact of having a center of excellence and using new technology demands you different capabilities. In my team, the average age of the people is about 29. So these people are demanding and they are dynamic, okay? And that's something that we have learned with the time to restructure our organization to attract these people and to keep them within our team. Okay, so something that we are learning and actually giving more responsibilities as we grow. Just as another side note, we are moving ERP. Actually, we're moving the version, of the ERP. So we are moving to S/4HANA. Probably you're on the same more or less way. So actually, last week we had a go live with one of our biggest regions in the company, and so far, so good. So one of the reasons why I'm here is because things are still fine. So we are in the middle of the journey with S4. And of course, as well, we have sustainability. That is one of our main things. In this one, we have done a big step, at least from Essity side. as now we are able to measure much better what we're talking about the emissions in transport. In the past, we were dedicating time and effort, but we were very much doing based on assumptions. Currently, we are able to understand and to know for each single transport or shipment exactly who was performing this one and the distance, because we're using the distance engine that we use for the optimization in order to understand how many kilometers. We are able to define exactly which type of truck we're using, and with this, we are able to have a much better reporting and monitoring of our emissions, which in the past was a challenge. So now we're trying to get there, okay? And last but not least, and this is my last slide and related to sustainability, the next step that we would like to do is to go farther. So now we measure better. What we would like to do is to start incorporating this kind of footprint factors into our planning. What I'm saying is currently, I'm planning my transport based on service and cost, and I would like to start planning them based as well on the footprint, the CO2 footprint, in order to take better decisions considering this third one. So this is the next step, and we're starting to explore the possibilities to be able to incorporate in the best way these kind of factors on the way we're planning. What else we're trying, or we're developing as well, is new regions. We're talking about actually some regions even outside of Europe. We are working in this direction. And something very important for us is service. As I was saying, this is our token to play currently. So we need to develop the right tools and processes in order to be able to be even more proactive whenever, for instance, I will be late to my customer. It should be me telling them that my truck will be late, not them telling me that I'm late. Those kind of things that I'm working now based on this information of delivery or proof of delivery, that's what we're working and developing. And last but not least, as well, what we are finalizing to materialize is this consolidation of planning and logistics. The team I showed you before, what I showed you, the blocks were being built differently in terms of timing. So as I said, some of them, they are still to be built. And of course, we have still room for improvement in that area. So basically, in a nutshell, this is our planning of the next coming months and years. I think so far, the journey has been quite successful. And yeah, that's basically what I had to share with you.
Thank you, Sergio. Excellent. Just a couple of questions. I saw that you were talking about the role that you've got transportation there as part of an overall transformation that's happening inside Essity. Mm-hmm. How are you planning to integrate what you're doing now with some of those internal stakeholders that are running production or planning, or what's your vision for that?
Yeah, I guess I don't want to say that this was built by silos, because it sounds a bit negative, but it's true that we were building those on blocks. So, and one of the things that we would like to start doing is to start understanding actually the needs between different departments, because it's given. Now we have some kind of working groups working together to try to identify which are the needs between the different departments, to start thinking which should be the right technology or the right tools in order to go into this direction. But it's something that we can live it. Actually, this Christmas was a little bit tricky for us in transport, because the Christmas and the New Year's Eve was in the middle of the week, and we really experienced that we have a lot of things to still do in that area, and we're starting to work on that direction.
Right, okay. Mm-hmm. Just one other question. You mentioned connecting to your carriers.
Yeah.
Is there more to do in that area? You're dealing with outbound, right? So you're dealing with customers and outbound transport.
Yeah.
Are you planning to do anything with your suppliers?
When our carriers, we still have some installations to go, and with our suppliers, I'm not dealing on that part. So
okay.
On that one, I will. Okay.
So this is an outbound network.
Completely, exactly.
Fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. We're going to ask Sergio to come and come to the Blue Yonder kiosk after this session. So if anyone's got any specific questions that you want to ask, feel free to go and meet him over there. Thank you, Sergio. And in the meantime, I'm going to say thanks, and we'll move on to the next part of the presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So thank you, Sergio. Just so that I explain now about where I'm coming from and what we're going to do next. I look after Blue Yonder's manufacturing strategy for EMEA, and I'm here to basically manage how we explain to our manufacturing customers what Blue Yonder is about and what we're here for, as well as picking up information from our customers and prospective customers about what they're worrying about every day, so that we can make sure that Blue Yonder is reflecting that. And one of the developments that we've done is that we have a vision for having a network connected supply chain. And as part of that, we made an acquisition last year of a company called One Network. I don't know if anyone's heard of One Network before, but One Network's a pre-connected network that's actually managing a lot in the way that Sergio is talking there about connecting with trading partners. So I'm going to ask Sherelle James to come up, and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about how we deal with this process. Sherelle leads the strategy for One Network in EMEA. One Network is now part of the Blue Yonder enterprise. So, Sherelle, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you're a specialist in pharma, healthcare, retail,
Yep.
CPG. So first of all, could you explain to all of us how customers can take the next step beyond what Sergio is talking about to extend to deal with all forms of trading partners and dealing with suppliers and customers and the like?
Yeah, so, I mean, outbound logistics is a good place to start. It's kind of an easy starting point to get that visibility of your outbound transport, and from that, generate value for the business that can then lead on to other collaboration projects. This is another consumer goods company that we work with that's gone on a similar journey. So started with the outbound transportation visibility, getting better proof of delivery, and improving their overall cash flow, and that then fed into the other part of the collaboration. So the second one here is what we would call inbound supply collaboration. So inbound supply collaboration is when you're going from your purchase order through to the supplier, through logistics and into delivery. So what we see is companies collaborating on two things. One is the raw material into manufacturing. So it could be packaging, could be ingredients, other materials that you need for manufacturing, or also into co-manufacturing, co-packing. So where you're, obviously ordering finished goods into the market. So by connecting that full inbound, you're able to get visibility of any potential disruptions before the impact operations. So, if there's one that we hear quite a lot, especially in companies that are bottling, is availability of glass and aluminium, and shortage of supply, and realizing that too late, and then that impacts production. So getting visibility to all of these potential disruptions in supply before they impact the operations. The next step on from that would be the manufacturing control tower visibility. So if you know what's coming in, so I know my packaging, I know my raw materials, and I know what I need to produce. If you can see far enough in advance that you're going to have a supply problem, your planners are going to be able to respond to those before it becomes a production problem. The last thing you want is changing production schedules at the last minute because you don't have what you need. So being able to plan ahead for that. And then the fourth thing is on the distribution side, so finished goods to market, so being able to see the impact of supply into manufacturing, even if that manufacturing is external, into finished goods availability, downstream into the market, and again, looking at where you have potential issues, in being able to meet that market demand. It's all about the customer, right? You want to make sure you get your goods on the shelf, so the customer has access to them. It's going to increase your revenue, increase your customer satisfaction. It's the most important thing. So being able to see how that full tier and supply chain is impacting that availability in the market. And then the kind of cream on the cake would be the collaboration with the customer. So collaboration with the retailers to get all of the data that you need in order to push back upstream through your supply chain. So that's the end-to-end collaboration that the One Network platform enables as part of the overall Blue Yonder platform.
Great. I mean, I think, as you can tell by looking at me, I've been around a long time doing supply chain management. And I can remember about 20 years ago, we were talking about CPFR, collaborative planning, forecasting, replenishment as a theory. And yet here we are still struggling, it would seem to me, to be able to do this. And with One Network, we're starting to see this actually happening. Why has it been so difficult to get to this point?
So this is a great question. It's one of my favorite questions about the network, actually. Traditional collaboration has been point to point, and this has been the fundamental problem. So, if you think about it from the point of view of a supplier, your manufacturers, also suppliers into retail. Every time someone comes to you and says, can you collaborate with me on my portal? That's cost and it's effort. And when you're doing that multiple times in different portals, or you need multiple different integrations, it becomes a burden. And so what we saw was a lot of resistance in the market. So suppliers not really wanting to collaborate. They'll put up any reason. Oh, it's too expensive. I don't have any IT. I don't have the resources available. So real resistance to collaboration. And that has resulted in low maturity around collaboration in supply chain. And it's meant that many projects in the past have just not succeeded. So companies have gone down this path of collaboration, whether it's collaboration on the retail side or collaboration on the supply side, and it hasn't worked, and so given up. So it's kind of got a bit of a bad reputation in the past because of these project failures. But it really is around this whole point-to-point collaboration model, where every single company that wants to collaborate with the supplier asks the suppliers to collaborate individually, and so that supplier has, we always call it swivel chair, where I have to keep spinning round and doing my collaboration, and if I'm a supplier, I don't want to do that. It takes too much time, too much effort, and at the end of the day, it goes into product price. So how we've resolved that. So One Network was founded in 2002 to specifically solve this problem, which is the digital supply chain network. So we were one of the first on the market to do this. And it's a true network. So it's what we would call a hub-to-hub network. So everybody participates in the network. It's a bit like social media. You join the social media platform, and then you can talk to anyone. And it's the same principle. So a company joins the network, and they can collaborate with anyone. Now, as the person on the receiving end of that, you're going to say, well, it doesn't make any difference to me. But it makes a huge difference to the suppliers. And because it makes a huge difference to the suppliers, they are going to get engaged, they're going to onboard, and they are going to collaborate. And it just really helps with the supplier willing to connect, and then the supplier going through a whole maturity kind of curve around how they collaborate. So really value for them. And that's the big difference between how we approach collaboration compared to the more traditional point-to-point solutions. So this just kind of represents that. I mean, it really is simplifying the whole process. We have this onboard once, connect to many. Suppliers decide who they collaborate with. The buyers decide who they collaborate with, defining the process that they collaborate on. And the momentum carries on. So anytime a company comes onto the network to collaborate with suppliers, you're able to take advantage of that.
And I see it says connect once and collaborate with many.
Mm-hmm.
So once a company's on that network,
yep,
they can reuse that connection, or how?
Yes, so it goes both ways. So if I'm initiating the collaboration with suppliers, I get access to the network that's already there. And if I'm a supplier, I'm able to collaborate with all my suppliers. So there's kind of dual benefit there.
Right. And I think, again, going back to what I remember of trying to do CPFR, I think, as Sherelle said, it always felt to the supplier like this is something being done to me.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm being asked to help them out with increased visibility and information. I think that those suppliers actually now start to get some access to some data.
Yeah.
So there is some benefit for them now in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. So the suppliers are able to, you can look across multiple customers, you can get the data from multiple customers, you can start to optimize across multiple customers, start looking at it more from a more aggregate perspective rather than just on an individual collaboration basis. So there's a huge amount of value for the suppliers. And we've really seen this work. I mean, this isn't just, kind of, wishing. We see this happening in the industries that we work in, where as we start to build that network of the buyers and the suppliers, it really does start to take off because the suppliers want to get involved. So, the second customer that goes to a supplier and says, collaborate on one network, the third one comes along, for them, it starts to become hugely valuable, and they actually get quite engaged in the process at that point and start to become champions around the network. So it really does work.
And so I think, as Sergio was saying, that when it comes to actually measuring your performance, right, this is the sort of platform where you can start to now see what is my on time in full as my customer perceives it, not just based on my own dispatches. So that sort of information starts to become a value for those that are connected. Mm-hmm. And I think that then becomes an incentive for those that are not connected.
Yeah.
Right, because the customer is explaining to them how they get service from those that are on the network.
Yeah, we actually had a supplier recently contacting us asking him to join the network ahead of the customer. And so we're kind of like, well, we can't do that without the customer being involved. But they were really keen to get started and get onto the network because they understand the value from, hearing about what we're doing. And this is in healthcare, but, really wanting to become part of it.
So I think that the purpose of this session was to just bring forward what the strategy of Blue Yonder is. So Blue Yonder is known for doing planning, demand planning, supply planning, transportation planning, warehouse management, even order management these days. The objective there is ultimately to give you as the users the opportunity to start to do your planning in a network connected environment. So that when you're doing your planning, you're taking into account things like the availability of capacity from your suppliers, mm-hmm. or what you've got as a forecast that's coming in, to make sure that we're becoming far more connected. And that was the original intention of CPFR. But I think with the advent of AI, machine learning, with the advent of cloud capacity, cloud computing power, we now are seeing that there is an infrastructure that is available to actually support those collaborative planning and forecasting processes. That's our vision. That's why we've made this significant acquisition to help us extend our end-to-end supply chain to be end-to-end across multiple entities. And I'm not sure if we mentioned, there are plenty of networks out there where multi-tier is important. It's not just about my supplier, right? It's about the suppliers going into that supplier.
Suppliers, yeah.
So we see a lot of that with electronics particularly, or in automotive, where a manufacturing company is having to control the supply, and they're having to deal with the purchasing volumes of product that's actually not going to them, it's going to a tier one manufacturer before it comes to them. So in that world, all of the planning capabilities that you will be using to make sure that you're predicting into the future will be far more streamlined and will eliminate bullwhip, right? So if those that we've been listening to that argument, and again, CPFR was supposed to eliminate bullwhip. I don't think it'll ever get eliminated, right? Because there's humans involved. But to be able to not blame that bullwhip on lack of information is where we're trying to get to.
And I think the flexibility as well. So we see a lot of moving between in-source, outsource. So do I manufacture in-house or do I manufacture externally? Do I manage my transportation in-house? Do I manage my transportation externally? And I think, a digital supply chain network does enable that flexibility because it doesn't really matter. It's just how you're collaborating and what you're collaborating on changes. But it gives you that flexibility to move between the two as, everything changes in supply chain all the time, and everyone bounces backwards and forwards between those two. So it gives the flexibility, and also for these more complex supply chains, as Simon was describing, where you might have multi-tier processes that you're trying to manage.
Okay, so that was what we were going to cover today. So we've listened to Essity and a company that's actually implementing the whole process of trying to automate their supply chain and centralize it into a center of excellence. We see that all the time. And then the concept of going beyond just carrier connectivity to looking at building a network. Sherelle's going to be on the Blue Yonder kiosk as well, if anyone's got any specific questions. But we have got time for at least one question, if anyone got a burning question they want to ask and put us on the spot. Apart from you, Federico. No, please go ahead.
Just a reflection and then a question. First of all, yeah, thanks for explaining this. And this covers actually a gap in an ecosystem. So building a network in an ecosystem. But I was wondering, what should be, so in real world, carriers, suppliers, customers, we have a different level of maturity.
Yeah.
So we need to have a framework of a selective way to segment and to choose the right maturity, because we cannot do it. So have you experience on this, or what is the approach?
Yeah, no, and that's a key part to any collaboration project. So one is segmentation. There's always the segmentation of suppliers, so which are your most strategic, but then there's the maturity. And so anyone you're collaborating with, it's important to work to their maturity level, and not just say, hey, you need to integrate. And they might not be ready for that. They need to start and the maturity that they are ready for. So we have a whole a maturity assessment that is part of our projects. All our projects involve onboarding partners, whether that's customers, suppliers, carriers.
So we take the responsibility for doing the onboarding?
Yes, we do the onboarding. We have a partner network services team that does all that. And then our project team does a maturity assessment. So segmentation, who we're going to focus on, what's their digital maturity, and then we work with them. So it is really important to adapt to what the partners are able to do, because it needs to be flexible for them. But what we see is the maturity increases as they collaborate with more and more of their partners.
And there are low integration ways of still connecting with carriers, right? So through portals or
mobile apps, CSV upload, download. You can get very, very basic with the collaboration, and then you can get very, with direct REST APIs, and they can even become what we would call a hub. They're actually using the solution themselves, so it becomes this, like you said, an ecosystem of everybody working together.
But the real beauty to us of the method and the process is that it is making it easy for the supplier to connect, not a pain, right? So the resistance there is taken away from connecting up that network and people seeing some value in being on the network. And as Sherelle said, it's like being on Facebook. I mean, I can remember, because I'm so old, as I keep telling you, I can remember when LinkedIn first came out and thinking, why would I use this? I can speak to my colleague who's sat next to me now. I can say, oh, why don't you connect to LinkedIn, and I'll connect to LinkedIn, and we can share information about each other that you already know, right? But look where we are now, right? Now you wouldn't not be on LinkedIn, right? And that's what we see here, because the process of getting on board is so much easier instead of the old way of, I'm the big customer, you're a small supplier, I'm telling you, if you want to continue to do business with me, you will join our network, and by the way, how much are you prepared to give me to be allowed to do that, right? By turning it round and making it something that's easy for everyone to do, eventually that network is being built out. And I think we had 50,000 connected companies on that network now. So, that's since 2002.
Yep.
It's been built out so that we're now in a position to start to really utilize that network for the good of everybody. I think we got room for one more question. Thank you, Federico. Yeah.
Okay. right as well. So you're saying multiple suppliers or multiple carriers could be a part of the same network, right? So how does competition play in between that? Because one of my supplier would have access to the data of my other supplier. Similarly, one of my carriers would have access to the data of my other carrier. So wouldn't they have access to their competitors' data, which would
No.
make it
No, our founders all came from enterprise software, and they patented a permissions model well ahead of blockchain. I mean, effectively, the network does what blockchain does without the complexity of smart contracts. Smart contracts are super difficult, but they patented a permissions model which controls all of that. So each party will only ever see the data that they have the permission to see. So yeah, that's all. It's all very secure.
And that was a fundamental part of making it what connect once, use many, right?
Yeah.
Because lots of companies in the past have said, I'm only prepared to do this if it's peer-to-peer because I'm scared of what other people will see.
Yeah.
By putting that control in place, it means that it is safe to now connect.
Yeah.
And therefore, we then get the benefit of reuse.
That's a very interesting concept.
I think there was another question.
Oh.
Yeah, I would, if I was looking at drawing it, I would be worried about cybersecurity. How do you address that?
Cybersecurity, just generally.
Well, your data's in there, there's information in there. And my previous company had their own cybersecurity team, so I was kind of brainwashed into all that. And that would concern me. So how do you approach that?
I think any solution out there has challenges with cybersecurity. I don't think that's unique to the network. I think, I don't know if you have anything
No,
you want to
so I
say
mean,
that.
that's a common concern that's raised. We are standardizing as much as we can on certificated technology. What we found in the past is that actually for our customers to build their own cybersecurity, actually it's harder and takes more time than it is for Microsoft, for example. So we run on Microsoft Azure as a platform. Now, there will always be cybersecurity people that will argue whether that's true or not. But what is certainly true is that going forwards, they're far more trusted to be able to keep that going and keep connecting. That's not to say that there's never ever going to be some kind of breach or attack, but it's more likely to happen to those that are trying to do it on their own, unless they're completely disconnecting from the real world. And this is going to make it harder and harder to live in that world, right? I mean, we can all want to do social media, but if we're not prepared to connect on the internet, then we're not going to do it. So I think it's a worthy concern. We have cybersecurity people that explain that to all of our customers and to the people that want to connect onto the network and explain about the services that we're using that are standardized in the solution. Thanks for the question. Okay, we've run to the end of this. So good questions. Please come and ask if you want some more. We've got a kiosk over on the side. So thank you so much to Sherelle.
Thank you.
Thank you to Sergio for providing
Thank you.
his feedback. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.